Welcome to Hero Club.
I'm Nick Williams.
And I'm George Primavera.
George and I started playing Dungeons & Dragons with our buddies in college, and we haven't stopped since. Even when we lived on opposite coasts, I would Skype in George on the TV in the living room of my apartment,
while I would DM from the floor of my bathroom so as not to wake up my roommate. When I finally came out to Los Angeles, we started playing with our friends right away.
And when we'd inevitably tell other people about the ultimate betrayals and daring heroics that happened in our games, we realized that they were just hearing a jumbled mess instead of the cinematic blockbuster memories that were in our heads. We wanted to show people how fun and immersive D&D can be, especially those who had never played.
And to do that, we record a full game like normal around the table and then painstakingly cut it down from 4 hours to a clean, math-free episode, so you can experience our memories the way we do.
Just like in a real game, nothing is ever written or planned out ahead of time with the players. The only things we add are music and sound effects.
I am the Dungeon Master. I build the world and the framework for an adventure. The players, like Nick, must then journey through the obstacles I set before them, rolling a 20-sided die and adding character-specific bonuses to see if they succeed. If they beat the number I have in my head, then their action is successful. If not, it is a failure, and there may be consequences. We try to follow the rules of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition as close as we can, but as the Dungeon Master, what I say goes, and there are some things I like to do differently.
Each season is its own contained story, so find one that sounds interesting to you and start from the top. And hey,
welcome to the club. We're doing something a little different this season. Our first 4 episodes will be released in reverse chronological order, in the opposite order that they were played in. We hope you enjoy figuring out what the muck is going on.
Town. Ha, ha. On a trawler, slick with squalor, bound in shackles and a collar. A person's felled, a person's held, as they cry out for a messiah, like a spicy jambalaya. A righteous horse rises from the sauce. Is it him, or could it be? Is it him, or may that me? Is the hero of the bayou, hero of the bayou. The salvation is to bayou, that hero from the bad, bad bayou. The fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go. He'll make his presence known. Here he comes, he's the hero.
Hero Club presents ClusterMuck. Chapter 3. Bog Day Afternoon. Even earlier that day, we open on a busy sky bridge, connecting 2 of the massive skyscrapers spearing out of the swamp planet Aromatica's surface, high above the tree canopy. Bustling business folk in well-assembled outfits follow the current of bodies to their individual destinations, heads down, jabbering loudly into their earpieces. The pace here is blistering. And keeping perfectly in step with that pace, we see 3 figures that cause the crowd to part slightly. They are all dressed in exquisite uniform. Leading this trio is a human man.
Phil from Valdivia can only be described as a walking Ken doll in his early 40s. His perfect auburn hair speckled with just the right amount of salt and pepper. He has $1 million smile, a can-do attitude, and a jaw that you could cut bread with. This is Phil's last field mission before his big promotion.
To the human's right, a walking bipedal automaton.
CRSU, or Conflict Resolution Service Unit 98455, also known as Chris, is a 6'3" dark gray automaton with the logo of Valdivia emblazoned on his chest. CRSU 98455 has ended 39 lives on behalf of Valdivian services. As he turns to Phil and his party in general, he says,
2 of the 3 Valdivian tenets are reliability and tenacity, and we have under 2 hours to deliver the package.
Phil, a little ways ahead of the trio, is slightly out of earshot of this urging, and instead, it falls on the ears of a tall, seemingly plant-based organism.
Bertrude Bluepool is a Floridian, which in this context is a tree person, not a person from Florida. She mostly resembles a Terran birch tree. White bark skin with dark brown knots scattered throughout, and the top of her head becoming a twisting of branches decorated with silvery green leaves. She recently graduated from University of Valdivia with a baccalaureate degree in intergalactic art history. She is the eldest of 5 and is the sole provider for her siblings and feeble parents.
Well, I just hope this doesn't really go on our records if we are late.
Bertrude, if we are late, it will definitely be on your permanent record. And need I remind you that this is Phil's last mission before his promotion.
And it's well-deserved. He really is such a good leader.
Phil, not dropping his pace, turns around to face his comrades, walking backwards the whole way. Gang, are you talking about little old me? That's so sweet, but don't worry. Things like this happen all the time, and if you're gonna be clerks without little old Phil being in charge, you're gonna have to learn how to stick and move, stick and move with anything that the client throws at you. Lethal, non-lethal, time changes, client changes, maybe even sometimes killing some of the other Valdivian Conflict Resolution Service members.
Those were very inspirational words, Phil. I feel very inspired and motivated by your words. If there were a 4th tenet to Valdivia, improvisation certainly would be the 4th.
Bertrude runs her hand along her top branches.
I already think I have the stick thing covered.
As the trio walks along the clean white linoleum of the 93rd floor of the Hastings Elevator Building, passing many offices, research and development archives and testing rooms, and a couple of executive suites, they finally come out into the Hastings elevator lobby of the 93rd floor. Phil, you know that it is standard procedure to check in with the elevator attendant. And walking over to the desk, you look up and see a GCC representative in a black and purple uniform staring down at you from a high podium. Make a history check.
Dirty 20.
State your name and your business on Aromatica Surface.
Hi, I'm Phil from Oh. Whitney.
Oh my god. Phil, right? Look at that! What a coincidence.
Yeah. What a universe. What a universe.
It's a big sector, but a small building.
Right. Hi, I'm Phil from Valdivia, and someone call for CRS?
Right. Okay, let's get that figured out for you.
Whitney brushes her short black hair away from her face and scrolls through an unseen log, giving you a furtive look. Make an insight check.
3.
She returns her eyes to the screen.
And who is the client Valdivia is representing today?
Phil, unusually shaken, staring directly into Whitney's eyes.
Phil, you're the client?
Chris.
Yes, Phil.
What was the client's name?
The client is Papa Roach. It is urgent we get there soon. We have less than 2 hours to delivery.
2 hours? You've got a long way to travel in 2 hours.
I'm not worried.
And what threat level do you anticipate Valdivia will be operating under?
Oh, this is a simple delivery. Shouldn't be more than a maximum of level 2.
That will be logged. Thank you for your cooperation, Phil. It was nice to see you again.
It was. It is my last day of field work. I'm getting moved up to the offices, so I'll have a little bit more of my own free time, just throwing that out there.
Whitney gets down from her podium, significantly shorter now, adjusts the spectacles on her face, and punches in a code for the elevator, which promptly opens. In this room, there are several elevator bays, and several other GCC attendants stand guard in front of the rest. She approaches you, staring up at you.
You know, that doesn't sound so bad. Maybe we could get a drink or a coffee or something.
Roll an insight check with disadvantage.
5.
Whitney gets very close to Phil, gently putting a hand on his belt,
Make sure you give me a call when you get topside then.
and hands him a little slip of paper with her number on it. She leaves the elevator bay doors, turning quickly and stalking away. Chris, just for a moment, you see Whitney roll her eyes and continue moving along.
5 stars. Well, gang, today's gonna be a good day. Best last day ever. Come on!
Chris follows Phil into the elevator.
Phil, I noticed your heart rate increased significantly when you were speaking to Whitney. But remember, sometimes you should look at a book twice before reading it. Is something I think I registered in my philosophical logs from decades ago. Those logs are partially erased. I created more space for tactical deployments.
Phil leans into Bertrude. You see, Bertrude, this is why after decades of them quote-unquote perfecting the CRS units, they're never gonna replace the flesh and blood clerks like us. Are you flesh and blood?
No, I'm made of wood.
Alright.
As it descends, Bertrude asks out of the blue,
What is the Valdivian policy for dating coworkers? I never read that in the manual.
Dating other Valdivian employees is strongly discouraged but must be reported to HR before any procreation occurs.
As the elevator begins to shoot downward 93 floors, everybody make a perception check.
17.
4.
12.
As the elevator descends, Phil and Chris stare wordlessly ahead, but Bertrude, the other elevators are still active, and you gaze curiously around at the translucent elevator shafts. One figure catches your eye, pressed up against the glass, at least 200 feet off, and ascending is what looks like a 5.5-foot tall cockroach, its face pressed up against the glass. You also notice a small silver glint around its neck, and you discern that they appear to be wearing coveralls and open-toed sandals. Roll a history check.
11.
Huh, that's weird.
And she elbows Phil and points to the figure.
Have you ever seen coveralls and open-toed sandals together?
Phil turns to look. The elevator has already ascended too far.
Bertrude, even after a year together, I find it very endearing that you still are so enamored with how different the cultures of other planets can be.
There's still so much I don't understand. I can't wait to keep learning.
The elevator slows, and on a digital pad, the letters S and F, standing for Swamp Floor, light up, and the elevator doors open, revealing a much dirtier, albeit grand lobby. Some residual swamp muck has been tracked all over the floors, and the stinking sulfuric air, which clearly has corroded the marble and stone surfaces around, hits your nostrils like a punch in the face. CRSU, your pollution sensors go crazy. Ahead of you appears to be what looks like a giant gelatinous slug man sat between two sets of metal detectors.
CRSU sees the slug man ahead of him and scans his database for any recognition of this creature.
Roll a history check.
15.
A file comes up on Squibus Bucks, the swamp floor attendant for the past 5 years. Scrolling through his file, you see that he dropped out of an education center somewhere here in Aromatica and appears to have been scouted for the position by GCC representatives. Indeed, to corroborate this, you see a GCC pin on his vest, which is stretched very tightly over the oozing gelatinous exterior.
Welcome, Valdivians. I've been told you were coming. Go ahead and step through the metal detectors and we'll get you all set for your mission.
I'm composed of 75 elements, 24% aluminum, 14% iron, and over 6 and 5% copper and cobalt, respectively. Will that be a problem?
We can have it for a living.
One more time?
This shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure you walk through and put all your big weapons through this X-ray tunnel right here. We'll give everything a once-over.
Chris proceeds to walk through the metal detector.
Chris, make a wisdom saving throw.
18.
Chris steps through the metal detector and suddenly seizes as he fails his wisdom saving throw. Chris begins to twitch, his head pulls a full 360-degree spin, and his digital eyes go completely dark as he powers down, tips over, and slams down onto the tile in front of the metal detectors.
Whoopsie! Uh-oh!
Bertrude quickly disarms her weapons and goes through the metal detector to attempt to help Chris.
Oh my god, what are we gonna do?
Bertrude, as you move through the metal detector, make a wisdom saving throw.
11.
You feel a strange staticky aura pulsing through the metal detector as you walk past it. You take 6 psychic damage.
Huh. Well, this sure throws a wrench into the works. Phil puts his weapons into the bin and rushes through the detector.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
16.
An uncomfortable ringing in your ears. You take 5 psychic damage as your vision leaves you for a moment and you stumble to the other side of the metal detectors.
Oof.
Bertrude, Phil, roll a medicine check.
17.
13.
Phil, you discern that something has gone wrong with the metal detectors. They are emitting some sort of magnetic aura. And as you scan the massive apparatus, you see many wires poking out, ill-kept fuse boxes, and several control panels that appear to be completely covered in extraneous papers and the personal belongings of Squibus. This is not a well-kept facility. Phil, roll a technology check.
14.
As you observe Chris's still form, you open up a small panel on the back of his head and begin to read reboot instructions.
Oh man, is he okay?
What do you think?
Well, let's not worry, okay? Valdivian craftsmanship stands up to more than just some backwoods detector. Just needs a little bit of a reboot.
I shouldn't question Valdivia, you're right.
All right, let me see. Just wire goes in here, I think. And then we got... You see, their instructions are absolutely perfectly clear. Beautiful. Reliable. And convenient.
With a final flick of a switch, Chris's eyes reboot as large, almost naive circles. Phil, Bertrude, roll an insight check.
6.
Botch.
It would seem Chris has returned to full functionality, though once in a while, a little bit of static appears in front of his eyes. The automaton rights itself into a sitting position.
Running diagnostics. Primary movement online. Secondary movement online. Behavioral chip damaged. Emotional inhibitor chip damaged. Primary objective damaged. Searching for secondary objective. Searching.
Hey, is that guy gonna be okay?
Valdivian tech is very complicated and takes a second to come back online. I'm sure Chris will be right as rain in just a few moments. But we gotta get going, so could we have our weapons back, please?
The weapons slowly move through the X-ray machine out to the other side in little trays.
Here you go.
You are handed all of your equipment. Squibus leaves behind a little bit of mucusy residue as he hands each weapon to you.
Thank you for traveling to Aromatica Swap Floor and have a wonderful stay.
We'll be sure to put in a request to fix these metal detectors.
Okay, whatever.
Secondary objective found. Determine true objective. Chris.
All right, come on, Chris.
With several jerks and twitches, Chris rises to his full height next to his companions.
Where to?
Well, Chris, we're gonna go meet the client, but you're taking a little bit longer to come back online than I would like. That backwater detector really did a number on you, didn't it?
Yes. Client searching. Deliver package to client name history damaged. Must repair backup. Primary backup damaged 85%.
Chris.
Phil.
Our battle system's still online.
Battle systems 100%.
Then for all intents and purposes, we're fine. We'll figure this all out back at headquarters. Phil punches in some numbers on his tech bracer and pulls up a map of the area.
A 3D topographical map suddenly rotates over Phil's open palm. As it does, a voiceover suddenly begins to play.
Welcome to Aromatica, home to Dev Center 9911B. The planet's surface is comprised of swamp and marshland terrain, and is inhabited by intelligent beings evolved from insectoid and reptilian ancestors. Primary transportation methods on Aromatica include fan boats, jet skis, and other water-traversing vehicles. A fun fact, after After the GCC integration of Terra, a religious group known as the Mormons participated in a mass immigration to Aromatica, in one of the largest religious missions ever officially logged with GCC archives. As a result, the dominant religion on the planet is an offshoot sect of the Church of Latter-day Saints. The Terran English word ladder has several meanings and phonetic compositions,
And an image of a 3D ladder appears.
An either accidental or intentional misinterpretation of the word has caused the citizens of Aromatica to treat ladder symbology with much reverence. And 80% of Aromaticans attend a weekly service in devotion to Swamp Christ's Church of Latter-day Saints.
Phil leans into Bertrude. Now that explains how bad it is down here. Bertrude, whenever you see the Terran English word Christ, you know the missionaries got their claws in deep.
I remember in one of my courses.
Chris also leans in.
Query, Phil, does God exist?
There is a beat of silence, during which an airboat pulls up in front of the dock outside the elevator building. Hopping onto the dock is what looks like a hairy insectoid man only about 3.5 feet tall. He is dressed in denim overalls, is wearing thick black gloves, and gives the Valdivian soldiers a wave from beyond the glass doors.
Hey, your rental is here.
Well, at least they're punctual. Come on, gang, we don't want to waste any more time.
Punctuality could be another tenant of Valdivia,
Bertrude says as she climbs into the boat.
What is time?
As Chris also steps into the boat, Phil, you feel a little tug on your arm, and this flea person holds out a credit receiver.
Hold on, gotta pay up now.
Sure thing. That's a 5 stars for you if it's a 5 star for me.
I think that would be a wonderful business transaction in addition to the financial exchange.
Wonderful doing business with you.
And you.
The flea steps back as you all hop into the airboat.
Now, I know it's my big last day and all, but truth be told, Bertrude, I kind of want to see how you'd fare without me. Let this be kind of a test of your skills, maybe...
I'd be more than happy to prove myself, sir!
So, take this seat. Pilot us away. Get us there on time as fast as you can. Come on!
Bertrude, very excited, takes a seat at the wheel.
Chris is sitting in the back of the fan boat, staring deeply into the water, searching for signs of life.
As the fan boat kicks on when Bertrude turns over the ignition, and you begin to pull out from this massive, rounded alcove,
This is an excellent skill set I can add to my resume.
everybody make a perception check.
19.
17.
11.
Bertrude and Chris, you hear the flea uproariously laughing from the dock. As he seems to point and laugh at a scaly humanoid sat in his own fan boat. The two seem to be arguing with each other, or at least exchanging harsh words. But soon, you leave this small scene in the background, the fan on the back pushing you through the muck. The light on Aromatica's surface is quite dim, as the tree canopy is immensely thick, tall trees spearing out of the water, getting to be about 50 feet high and then completely shielding the sun from view. Only a few beams of light poking through.
Chris looks up at the sparse light and trees overhead and says aloud,
Scanning database. Sending Todd up to scout ahead.
A rounded, volleyball-shaped drone suddenly detaches from Chris's back, leaving a massive concave hole, and floats on its own, borne aloft small thrusters.
Very funny.
It shoots up and disappears from view, scanning above the tree line. Bertrude, as you drive the fan boat forward, you see a wooden sign sticking out of the muck. In front of you, there are 2 pathways blazed through tall, thick swamp grass. On the left, it reads Aroma Falls, 75 miles. On the right, it also reads Aroma Falls, parentheses, shortcut, 10 miles.
Easy choice.
And Bertrude goes left.
Bertrude turns the wheel left and begins to travel down the much longer pathway.
Chris quickly transfers his vision to Todd, scanning the canopy below.
Roll a perception check.
25.
The tree canopy is immensely thick. However, there is a massive gap in the canopy. And as Todd begins to rise higher and higher, you see a section of swamp grass, very, very thick, with no path blazed through it, and thick bursts of steam once in a while rising from the muck, coinciding with the bursting of sludgy bubbles. And far in the distance, at the base of an enormous waterfall and at least a 200-foot-high cliff, you see a wooden rooftop. It looks to be the destination that you are traveling to along this exceptionally long, rounded route, which happens to trace all the way along the outskirts of this open, grassy area. It does indeed look like if you traveled through this obstructed area, the journey would be much, much quicker.
Chris transfers his consciousness back to his automaton body.
This appears to be the long way around, but it's beautiful, with a waterfall along the way and lots of wildlife.
Bertrude, make a water vehicles check.
16.
Bertrude putters safely through the muck, taking the least obstructed pathway, dodging down logs, and moving around spearingly high, almost stalagmite-like rocks. And after about 2 hours and 15 minutes, the roaring of the waterfall becomes audible, and the immense Aroma Falls tower above you.
On this 2-hour journey, Chris turns to Phil again.
Phil, my query from earlier. Does God exist?
Absolutely not. God is a construct. See, there's only a few things that I have absolute faith in, and that's Valdivia. All right? You talking 10 commandments? I can shorten that down to 3, and I think you know which ones I'm talking about.
Yes, but there seems to be missing segments on my database. If God does not exist, why is there something rather than nothing?
Chris, I gotta say, of all the hardware models, software updates, and redesigns, you might just be my favorite CRS unit. And you know why? You keep me on my toes.
Incorrect. Your legs, filaments, those things keep you upright and on toes. I do not.
I'm gonna miss this when I get my big promotion.
Passing the Aroma Falls, you slowly begin to pull into the raised dock of a warehouse. Coming out of the warehouse is a gaggle of bugfolk, all wielding heavy-looking kinetic bullet-based weapons. And leading the pack is...
Papa Roach, a self-assured cockroach of a businessman and businessman of a cockroach. His linen suit hangs loose over his 6 appendages, and sweat is just starting to piddle at each joint. He pulls a handkerchief, wiping more sweat from his brow as he approaches the boat, all of his arms outstretched in greeting.
Well, my, you sure do deliver.
Hey there, Papa Roach. It is so nice to meet a Valdivia Premier member. We are CRS, and I am Phil from Valdivia. How can we be of service?
Papa Roach ignores Phil completely, looking the tree woman up and down.
My. A flower can bloom in the desert, but a tree sure can grow in a swamp.
Phil, realizing this is a wonderful learning opportunity, looks to Bertrude, winks, and steps back, giving her the lead.
I've never been to a swamp before, but my name's Bertrude, and I'm a proud clerk of Valdivia.
Yes, indeed. Well, you all should do mighty nicely for my needs this afternoon.
Okay.
Scanning. You're Papa Roach.
And you are?
I am.
Alright, I have no kind of time for this bullshit.
And gesturing behind him, Papa Roach signals to one of his henchmen to bring an item forward.
Behind Papa Roach, there is a bustling and several bulky cockroach enforcers holding both sides of an enormous, intricate metal case, about 4 by 6, and judging by how the cockroach men are straining, easily somewhere around 500 pounds, is heavily set onto the deck.
Now this here's very important to me, but I got a little inkling there might have been some tampering happening with it, so any chance you boys and girls could give it a quick once-over before I entrust it into your capable hands?
Absolutely, Bertrude says, looking at Phil. Chris, could you go ahead and scan?
Affirmative. Scanning.
Chris, roll an investigation check.
17.
Chris steps forward, scanning the case, and does not detect any anomalies.
No foreign objects or anomalies detected.
Well, now that just doesn't sit right with me.
Chris, run diagnostics on scanner.
Scanner operating at 50%.
Alright, well let's see if we can just get a general scan going. Phil inputs a few numbers into his tech bracer and tries to detect tech.
A red light shoots outward from your tech bracer, and as you scan the case, on its left side, something currently invisible becomes outlined in red light.
5 stars. There we go. Looks like you got some pretty spot-on intuition there, Papa Roach.
Papa Roach, without asking or waiting for permission, grabs Phil's arm and pulls the scanner towards him to take a closer look.
Currently, a 3D image of a spider-like silver tracker is being built on the tech bracer. And outlined in the red light, a more distinct shape becomes visible.
Throwing 2 arms around Phil, Papa Roach begins to laugh.
Oh, my boy! Oh, he done did it. He done did me. Well, I'm very glad you found this. Confirmed some suspicions of mine. Anyway, we could get rid of this before y'all make your way.
Oh, it's just your standard stealth tracker. Pretty simple removal.
Roll a history check, Phil.
14.
The make of the tracker is unfamiliar to you.
Not Valdivian tech, but this thing is very advanced.
Well, just get it off and give it to me.
Alright, for safety's sake, let's have all organic life forms back up at least, 20 feet. And Chris, how about you dismantle this?
Chris looks at Phil and nods.
Yes, Phil, I will dismantle this.
Instead of backing away, Papa Roach snaps, and 2 of his lackeys take stances in front of him, putting themselves between him and the boat.
Chris steps back to where Phil is and carefully removes his robotic hand, which hovers above him.
Have you all updated his profile? Because none of this was on the site.
And the hand floats over to the box, starting to carefully tinker with the tracker.
Roll a thieves' tools check.
22.
The hand clamps to the box, a little screwdriver protrudes from the pointer finger, and then soon, after a small whirring sound, the spider-like tracker drone is suddenly visible and drops to the dock.
Chris's hand floats back to his body and reattaches itself to his wrist.
But I gotta say, you are all certainly proving you're worth the money. If you'd be so kind.
Papa Roach extends his hand for the tracker.
Chris walks forward and places the tracker in Papa Roach's open palm.
Ha ha ha. 5 stars.
Papa Roach nods, slightly confused, then holds the tracker up over his shoulder.
Beauregard, eat this.
Beauregard, an absolutely enormous, 10-foot-tall, 400-pound alligator man, steps forward, chomping down the stealth tracker in one bite.
Now, take a hike. Rest of the day's yours. Wherever you want to walk, you go enjoy yourself.
Okay.
Go. Get the fuck out of here. Done with you.
Beauregard looks around a little hesitantly.
Well, is there anywhere you'd prefer me to go? My shift just started, so I don't really have any, plans for the day. So if there was like an optimal
Buy
place...
yourself something nice. Someone give him some money so he can just buy himself something nice, please.
But what I'm saying is basically my work-life balance has been majority work. So I don't really have a place to go.
I understand. That's why I'm giving you a life balance here. I'm trying to even this out for you. Where did you go when you were a kid? For fun?
The warehouse.
Oh, man. You're killing me, man. All right. Why don't you just go? There's a nice ice cream parlor just a little ways down the road.
Oh, from Diddley's. That's under the Aroma Falls. I love that place. Yeah.
One of the roaches transfers Beauregard 25 credits, and he walks away with a hop in his step.
Good help is so damn hard to find. Which is why...
It's easy to pay for.
Papa Roach turns his attention back towards the Valdivians.
Thusly, I have no doubts y'all will have no problems getting this crate off planet. It is incredibly important to me.
Of course, we have it going to the Hastings Plaza Launch Center, and no questions asked.
That's my kind of business.
Some of the heavier cockroach fellas lift this massive case and drop it into the airboat, which almost sinks below the water level, but then rights itself.
Whatever you need, Valdivia can achieve. I submit that to the slogan contest each year. It hasn't been picked yet, but I think it's really promising.
Papa Roach smiles broadly.
I like it. I like you. And let me tell you something. Because I like you so much, come here.
Bertrude goes over, eager to please the client.
If I find out that one of you opened this box on the delivery, I'll make sure that every piece of you winds up in a different part of this swamp. Do I make myself clear?
Bertrude looks almost offended.
If it's not on the instructions, we don't do it.
Roll a persuasion check, Bertrude.
12.
Somewhat wary, Papa Roach nods, smiles, and backs away.
This is in your hands now. May Swamp Christ be with you.
Papa Roach leaves back down the dock, disappears into the warehouse flanked by his enforcers, and the rest of the bugs follow Papa Roach inside. Phil, on your tech bracer, you check the status of the delivery timeline and realize that you are approximately 2 hours from your guaranteed delivery time.
All right, gang. Looks like we're gonna have to shave off some time here. First things first, though, let me just check in with the, upstairs. Phil turns on his communicator and calls his supervisor.
This is Supervisor Vaughn.
Hey, Vaughn, it's Phil.
Phil, how's it going there, pal?
Hey, you know what? It's going. It's a big day.
Boy, do I hear that. Hey, they're saying your name a lot up here recently the past couple days.
You don't say. That means a hell of a lot coming from you, Vaughn.
Hey, we'd love to see you at the supervisor desk up here soon.
You know what? It's sooner than you think. It's actually last day today.
No kidding. Well, I'll keep a seat warm for you. Hey, what are you calling about, Phil?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's been kind of it's been pretty smooth sailing, hit or miss, but we do have our package procured. I will say, though, that we found a little bit of a tracker, pretty high-tech, actually, not Valdivia, which was a little bit surprising to me, so there are other players involved in this game. Also, some problem with the metal detector down here on this backwater planet really messed up our CRS unit. Nothing that we can't handle, but I figured I'd get in an early request for a bump up to level 2, just to be on the safe side, because we don't have much time to get this delivery in.
There's a pause and some clickety-clacking of typing. Gotcha, those concerns have been logged, Phil. Beautiful, and CRS unit repair schedule. Great, and we have been pre-approved for level 2 today, so let me just go ahead and get that instated. All right, would you please confirm that your batons have activated? The batons on your belts simultaneously extend.
That's a go, Vaughn.
Okay, happy airboating, Phil.
The stories I have to tell you when we get up there, bud.
Chris looks over at Phil.
Were you just on the phone with Valdivia?
Yes. Yes, I was, Chris.
You can talk to God.
In a way? Yes, I can. Bertrude!
Yes?
You know what? You got us here this far. I will say I think we have to go a little bit faster this time. So, hey, take the helm. I know what I do, but it's your mission, manager.
Bertrude, you know that upon Phil's exit, he could put in a hell of a word for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. All right, everybody in. Buckle up. Are there seatbelts? I didn't notice the first time.
Bertrude, as you turn the boat around, before you get to the Aroma Falls, you see another wooden sign spiked out of the water. To the left, the sign reads Hastings Plaza, parentheses, shortcut, 10 miles. Below this sign, there is a warning label with extremely small text and what looks like the image of a large frog on it. The right sign also reads Hastings Plaza with the marker 75 miles.
Chris, now urgently wanting to serve his god, telefocuses on the sign.
Roll a perception check.
22.
Zooming in, you begin to read lots of text. Warning, teeth-toad migration season. When traveling through tall grass, deactivate all electronics and keep speed moderately low. Warning, during teeth-toad season, sightings of snapdragon are rare but not unheard of. Travel at own risk.
Friends, ahead of us is danger, teeth, toads, and snapdragon. There is a small warning that says we must deactivate electronic devices and keep speed to 30 feet. Phil, what should we do?
Well, there's a couple of ways we could go about this, right? And this is the kind of things that you have to do when you're thinking on your feet. Now, we could go a slow way and potentially get docked some stars because of a late delivery. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world, but we're a group of 5 stars, and that can start to add up over time. A 4-star, while good, not 5. We could also take it slow down this path and see what happens. We would get there in a good amount of time, or we could just see if Bertrude has the piloting skills necessary to just take us all the way through lickety-split, fast as we can. These are the things you gotta think about. But again, today, it's not up to me. I know what I would do. But Bertrude, how would you do this?
Left is best.
And Bertrude goes left, down the shorter path, keeping to her tried and true motto, always left, never right.
Chris keeps a close eye on the path ahead, and right before they reach the grass, he taps a button on his hip and activates his flight capabilities.
Chris lifts off into the air above the boat. Bertrude. The fan boat reaches the border of the tall swamp grass sticking out of the water.
Phil, do you think we should turn off our weapons as they are electronic?
Well, Bertrude, we're a pretty tech-heavy group. These things are pretty necessary for our defense, and these signs are put up by people with obviously less tech than us. So, you have to wonder, do they need the signs? And do they need the help because they don't have the weapons to protect themselves? Or should we really lay low? Either way, it's a gamble, and I can't wait to see what you pick.
Well, we've used Chris to carry stuff for us in the past, and I have other means besides my weapons to protect myself. So I think it would be best if Chris held on to them and dropped them if we needed them.
Copy that, friends.
Chris hovers down right above the fan boat, collects their tech, and then ascends once again.
All right, Chris. Now, if there's any danger, be sure to drop those down to us.
Yes, Bertrude.
Bertrude, very much a rule follower, goes the speed limit down the shortcut.
The airboat slowly moves into the grass. Bertrude, make a water vehicles check.
10?
As the fan boat quietly hums, you start to notice that pieces of grass are getting stuck in the fan. 1 or 2 wouldn't be a problem, but the grass is so thick here that the fan starts to get jammed up. You begin to move even slower through the grass.
Phil, is there anything you can do about the grass that's stuck in the fan?
Sure, let's see if I can't apply some brute strength to this. Phil leans over and tries to unjam the fan.
Make an athletics check.
18.
With a wrench, some of the grass comes free, the fan sputters a bit, and the boat begins to move forward again. Bertrude, you proceed further into the swamp. The water gets thicker now. Go ahead and make a water vehicles check.
Botch.
All of a sudden, with a jerk, the boat becomes firmly lodged in a pile of muck.
Bertrude, Phil, do you read me? What's happening?
It seems I've made some poor piloting decisions, to which I take full responsibility. I'm sorry, Phil. I guess I can't put piloting a water fan boat on my resume just yet.
If it could help the engine, I could tie some wire to myself and pull.
Keep yourself up there for a second, Chris. Phil is going to go check and see if he can unlodge the boat.
As you survey the muck's grappling effect, you see that you might be able to hop out of the boat, submerging yourself slightly in swamp, and push, though the chances of you getting stuck may be relatively high.
Phil takes the rope from the fan boat, hands the other end to Bertrude. Just pull me in if I get stuck.
Okay.
And for safety, Bertrude will tie the other end of the rope to a piece of the boat.
Phil jumps out of the boat and begins to push.
You immediately begin to sink, but find a little bit of leverage. Make an athletics check.
23.
Slowly, the boat begins to release from the muck. Chris, from above, roll a perception check.
Nat 20.
Chris, you suddenly see the grass rustle in 4 separate locations, and then immediately, in an X-like formation, 4 things begin to converge on the boat, just as it's becoming freed.
Phil, Bertrude, back to the boat. 4 creatures incoming, moving quickly through the grass.
Drop the weapons, Chris.
Phil, you are submerged up to your hips after pushing as hard as you can. Make an athletics check to get back onto the boat with advantage.
24.
Wrenching free with a squelch, you clamber back onto the boat, and the weapons drop from above.
With Phil and the weapons safely on board, Bertrude quickly accelerates through the swamp.
The fan begins to accelerate, and before it can reach any kind of meaningful speed, the boat is suddenly rammed from the side, and something enormous has clamped gigantic needle-like teeth onto the boat. what looks like the head of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, attached to muscular frog legs, and that's it. Begins to gnash its teeth forward, and then another leaps from the back and bites at the fan. 2 attacks will now be made on your boat. 2 hits. The back fan takes 51 piercing damage, completely rending free from the back of the boat, and the front of the boat takes an additional 25 points, as another one of these teeth toads clamps around the front, screeching as it begins to gnash at you with 7-inch long incisors. 4 teeth toads have surrounded the boat, the fan has been completely disabled, and the Valdivians now have a chance to respond.
Bertrude turns around and takes aim with her blaster at the teeth toad biting the rear of the boat.
Roll attack.
14.
Hit. Roll damage.
16.
A jolt of electricity shoots forward from the stun gun, and the teeth toad grappling onto the back of the boat, the fan currently in its mouth, wrenched free from the actual apparatus, lets the fan go and dips underneath the water, roaring as it does.
Then turning around, she will strike the teeth toad embedded in the front of the boat twice. 17. Nat 20.
2 hits. Roll damage.
24 damage.
This teeth toad maintains its grip, but yelps each time the thick wooden arms slam into its nose. It exhales a bunch of muck all over your face, Bert.
Chris quickly flies down to the boat.
Are we fighting or running?
If we can run, that'd be great.
Affirmative.
Activating his targeting system, Chris aims at the teeth toad clamped onto the front of the boat and attacks twice with his arm cannons. 17. 17.
2 hits. Roll damage.
26 force damage, and the teeth toad is knocked back 20 feet.
With a screech, the teeth toad is rended free from the boat. All 3 Valdivians, standing back to back inside the small fan boat, now face the onslaught of the teeth toads as they begin to jump over and lunge at the party, gnashing maws agape. The first teeth toad leaps through the air, and as it passes overhead, attempts to snap shut on Chris's torso. Chris's top half disappears inside the teeth toad's mouth, and Chris, you take 31 points of damage. You are brought down to 17 points of health, and you are grappled in the teeth toad's mouth as it immediately yanks you over the side and into the muck. The second teeth toad leaps forward, lunging back at the front of the boat and attempts to grapple on. However, Bertrude, getting behind the steering wheel, pulls a quick U-turn, and the teeth toad's trajectory is thrown off, and it misses the side of the boat. Another toad launches from the muck, attempting to bite Phil as he stands on the back, and clamps down hard on his leg. He takes 36 points of piercing damage, and is yanked onto his back and pulled into the swamp. And then a final teeth toad lunges for Bertrude, but you are able to deftly duck underneath the 6-foot-tall, easily 700-pound, monstrous reptile amphibian.
Phil twists his baton, and crackling blue energy emanates from within it, as he takes a swing down at the teeth toad attached to his leg. Dirty 20.
Hit. Roll damage.
19 bludgeoning damage and 15 thunder damage.
As a thunderous booming sound emits from the baton, overcharged by Phil's very technologically advanced-looking arm apparatus, the teeth toad violently recoils, its eyes blinking in a kind of frenzy, and it immediately ducks beneath the muck, and you can tell, based on the patterns of the grass, it retreats. Phil, make a nature check.
16.
They seem to be reacting very specifically to the thunder damage, sensitive to loud noises.
Phil crawls back up onto the boat and screams, "They hate loud noises!"
Bertrude attempts to speed out of the swamp as fast as she can.
Make a water vehicles check.
21.
Bertrude hits the gas, launching over the massive muck puddle like a short-range ramp, and with a thud, lands back in the water on an especially clear patch of these Everglades. Bertrude, even though the throttle is pushed as far forward as it can go, you are not picking up the speed you are used to. You are only operating with the underside motor, and don't have the assistance of the enormous fan on the back of the boat. The teeth toad and Chris are left in the water behind.
Activating a panel on his chest, Chris teleports 30 feet in the air and flies towards the party.
Chris appears directly next to Todd.
Better stay close, Todd. It's getting pretty sticky.
The teeth toads are ripping through the water. Two of them are able to get up alongside the boat, and both toads, in a crisscross formation, leap over the boat, attempting to snap downward before disappearing into the swamp. They will target both Phil and Bertrude. Phil takes 26 piercing damage and is dragged once again almost over the edge of the boat, hanging on just with his toes.
No, come on!
He is brought down to 3 points of health. The other teeth toad, launching through the air, snaps down at Bertrude and completely whiffs as she quickly ducks underneath the teeth once again. The other teeth toad is in pursuit, but a little ways behind the boat.
Phil once again overcharges his baton and strikes down. 19.
Hit. Roll damage.
10 points of bludgeoning damage, 11 points of thunder damage.
Another resounding boom, and this toad, also disoriented, releases you immediately and disappears back into the swamp.
Phil drags his bloody and beaten body back onto the boat, on the verge of unconsciousness, and presses a button on his tech bracer that says, "Turn the tide."
Phil and Chris recover 9 points of health. Chris is brought up to 26 points of health, and Phil is brought up to 12.
Bertrude attempts to drive them out of the swamp as fast as she can.
Roll a water vehicles check.
10.
You don't get caught on anything, but it is slow goings weaving around the many obstacles in this dirty swamp. Bertrude, make a survival check.
26.
Bertrude, while you desperately search for a clearer path through the swamp, you start to notice something. Turning a little to the left, it looks like much of the grass has been uprooted and a strange little egress has been created. Something massive must have moved through here, some kind of enormous boat or creature. But following this path would allow you to pick up more speed. It looks as though it may be a little bit of a detour, but at this point, straight ahead is heavily obscured.
Seeing the left and, in her eyes, correct path, Bertrude guns it down the clearer option.
Chris, seeing his leader/avatar for his god in danger, lands on the boat, deactivates his flight capabilities, and cloaks Phil in a hologram of invisibility.
Phil becomes invisible. The boat rips down the clearer path, and after a tense beat, it becomes clear that the teeth toads are not following you. As they leave your sightline, Phil, make one more nature check.
Dirty 20.
The teeth toads that were impacted by that loud resounding boom do seem to have become disoriented, and it certainly seems to have been an irritant for the other teeth toads in the surrounding area as well, though not quite enough that they would have stopped pursuing you. As the boat continues through this grassy swamp and everything gets quieter, the swampy grass suddenly opens up to an open, circular patch of water, like a liquid meadow. All 3 of you make a perception check.
19.
17.
3. Distracted by his wounds, Phil charges up the defibrillator in his glove and puts it to his chest, instantly restoring 25 hit points.
Phil is brought back up to 37 points of health. While Phil is distracted and Chris, very alert, stares off the back of the boat, Bertrude, you stare ahead and see that there is a small mound of land directly in the middle of this little water meadow. And carved into this sandy patch, there appears to be a dark, cavernous hole. You guide the boat around the perimeter of this little clearing and discern that the weeds and grass are too thick to maneuver the boat through. You're going to have to go back the way you came. However, as you begin to turn back, heading towards the exit, the water beneath you begins to bubble. Something enormous begins to wrest itself from the mud beneath, at least 40 feet wide. And in front of this disturbance, peeking a little bit more suddenly and violently from the water, a truly massive reptilian head, toothless but with a thick gray beak, reveals itself, steam exhuming from its immense tortoise nostrils. The gargantuan snapdragon blocks your exit.
Oh no! Phil, do you want me to drive or shoot it?
Phil doesn't respond.
Okay, both.
And she pulls out her blaster and fires twice on the turtle. Botch.
Bertrude, your hands shaking, the second you go to pull your pistol out, it suddenly drops into the muck, disappearing into the mud, completely unrecoverable.
Okay, just the boat then.
the boat begins to whip around the clearing, the turtle's head swiveling after it.
Chris, in an effort to make a path for the party, fires both arm cannons at the creature in an attempt to push it aside. 21. Nat 20.
2 hits, roll damage.
26 points of damage.
And the turtle rockets back 20 feet, the water displacing and creating a massive tide. Bertrude, make a dexterity saving throw.
17.
Bertrude expertly maneuvers the boat, making sure it does not capsize.
Phil, almost having died today, is panicking. He wants to get off this planet and into that big fancy office. Still cloaked and invisible. He realizes the opportunity in front of him. He jumps off the back of the boat, swims to the sandbar, and runs. Before making his way there, Phil inspects the hole.
Make a nature check.
14.
It looks as though this hole is too small for the turtle to follow you after. It is potentially a safe haven.
Phil runs for it.
And disappears inside. Meanwhile, the turtle, recovering and righting itself, opens its maw, and you see steam gathering in the back of its throat, and then suddenly, both Chris, the boat, and Bertrude are completely engulfed. Both of you make a Constitution saving throw.
14.
19.
Chris succeeds, while Bertrude fails. Bertrude takes 54 points of fire damage, and Chris takes 27. Both of them are reduced to 0 hit points, and only shattered boards remain where the boat once was. Phil, you slide down a slippery, sandy slope, coming to a halt deep down in this cave with just the barest hints of sunlight illuminating your exact patch of sand. But this cave is quite large. Make a perception check at disadvantage.
5.
You see nothing in the darkness. Only here, a slight shuffling.
Paranoid, Phil goes to his tech bracer and activates his regenerative overshield. He takes out a syringe labeled Valdivian, stabs it into his neck, and depresses it, regaining 7 hit points.
Bringing him up to 44 points of health. Still only a quiet shuffling. You hear the massive turtle above, moving across the swamp. Once in a while, a guttural groan as it seems to be searching for something. Then suddenly there's a little movement in front of you, just beyond the darkness. Is the tiniest little turtle, only about 2 feet wide, crawling along the sand to your feet. It looks up at you as it reaches your boot.
Phil takes out his blaster and shoots it.
It instantly stops moving as the shell breaks and spatters across the sand.
Phil continues further, looking for a way out.
As you tentatively take 1 or 2 steps forward, there is suddenly a loud beeping inside the cave. Roll a perception check.
17.
You look down at your belt and see that inside, tucked into the hem of your pants, there is some small metal coin-sized device. You remember Whitney's hand on your belt. As the loud beeping goes off, you look down for a moment to see what's going on and look up to see a large turtle face directly in your face, at least 3 feet tall. And then another, and then another, as they all, drooling, begin to approach into the light. As you back up a little surprised, your boot crunches a massive, cracked open egg.
Phil goes to his comms to call Supervisor Von.
Hey, you've reached Von. Go for Von.
Hey, Von. Phil here.
Hey, Phil, how's it going, buddy? Hey.
2 clerks dead. I'm gonna need an immediate request for level 3.
Oh, 2 clerks dead. Okay, can you give me some personal information about those 2 fallen Valdivian soldiers, please?
Bertrude Bluepool.
Hold on. Bluepool. Okay, got it.
Pool. Oh,
Pool.
2
sorry.
O's.
Got
2
it.
O's. 2 O's.
Okay.
L. Was a student. Not
Great.
Not very good pilot. Floridian.
Got it.
CRSU 9845. 5.
Got it. Canceling that repair. Beautiful. And then we have a request for level 3, is that right?
That is correct.
Ooh, sorry, Phil. Looks like we've got a hold on level 3, excepting, of course, extenuating circumstances. Any other details you'd like to provide?
Surrounded by giant dragon turtles.
Let me see. Dragon turtles. I'm gonna put you on hold really quick.
Yep. While on hold, Phil takes the dodge action.
And 7 turtles lunge forward. 2 of the turtles find their marks, biting at both of your thighs and dealing a total of 35 points of damage. You are brought down to 15 points of health. You jerk yourself free from these turtles' beaks, and they begin to converge on and surround you. Von comes back on the line. Hey, Phil, you there?
Oh, yeah, still here.
Hey, Phil, it looks like we are going to get that level 3 approved for you, so great news on your part. You should see a little activation code up there on your tech bracer there. Just go ahead and input that and you should have access.
Phil inputs the code.
All of a sudden, a small cylindrical cartridge on Phil's back extends into an enormous and deeply intimidating-looking laser rifle.
Phil changes the option to minigun and unleashes a hailfire of laser bullets, spinning around into all the dragon turtles, holding down the trigger for both attack actions.
One of these adolescent snapdragons disappears into its shell completely, perfectly avoiding all of the bullet fire, but the other 3 are riddled with lasers. Go ahead and roll damage.
13 points of damage.
The turtles take these hits, screeching, and then launch forward once again. In a panic, Phil begins to sprint around this cave full of turtle babies, stepping on a few of the smaller ones at his feet, and is only bit once thanks to his quick movements, taking 10 piercing damage, bringing him down to 8 points of health. Phil, as you recharge your gun, pointing your minigun to the perfectly lined up cone of baby turtles, the light from above the hole suddenly gets dim. A massive head pokes down into the hole, staring at you. The maw opens up once again.
Trusting in Valdivia 100%, his faith unshakable, knowing that he will get out of this, and that this final attack is his ticket home, Phil from Valdivia screams, 5 stars!
Lasers begin to rip out of the minigun barrel, but only a few are loosed as the massive snapdragon lunges forward, dealing 15 points to Phil, snapping him up in its jaws. With a snap, Phil is swallowed. As Phil is heartily chewed by the massive snapdragon, the pulpy remains of the Valdivian are descended upon by the baby turtles. This has been a Hero Club production, produced by Nick Williams, George Primavera, and Jack Quaid, with associate producers Marty Abby Schneider and Dylan McCollum. Voice acting by George Primavera, Dylan McCollum, Hannah Fagerbakke, Jon Matteson, Gabe Greenspan, Jeffrey Robb, Jackie Emerson, and Helen Laser. Theme song composed and produced by Matthew McCollum and performed by George Primavera. Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod, Ben Doyle, and Matthew McCollum for their amazing music, Mage Hand Press for their genius D&D 5th edition homebrew, Marty Abby Schneider for his incredible artwork, and Allie Katzenese, our hero. Follow us on Instagram at Hero Club Podcast, on Twitter at Hero Club Pod, on Twitch at twitch.tv/hero_club, and check out our website, heroclubpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and welcome to the club.
From the The fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go around and round to take you home. Around and round, the fan blades go. He'll make his presence known. Here he comes, he's the hero of the bayou.
also, what did he sound like?
One more time.
Like
Shit,
deeper,
dude.
deeper.
All right. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure you...